This is The Spot, a BYU-Idaho radio production where we talk about what you're talking about at BYU-Idaho. Today's hosts are me, Savannah Bewley.
Hayden Hahn.
And I'm Travis Richards.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the host. Today we've got a lot of great things coming up in this episode. Of course, Hayden's going to talk a little bit about football, the intramural sports here at BYU-I, of course. Lots of really interesting things about that. Travis, we're going to be talking to you about watching football, like NFL and college and all of those kinds of things, little things like that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the nerd side of things, marching band and instruments and those sides of the band and of the show. And then we'll talk, all of us together, a little bit about values of football, especially during like Thanksgiving season and what we do with football around this time of year. So we'll start with Hayden, a little bit about football and your experience with football.
Okay. Well, so it's kind of a long story, but I'm going to just shorten it because I don't want to put anyone to sleep. So basically, I mean, I've played football my whole life. It's been a part of my life and about my family, I would say, too. Whether it was flag football, tackle football, any kind of football, I was playing it. Or we have this thing in our family, rugby football, where we play just on the ground. I mean, it's not called rugby football, carpet football. We're just on the ground, on the carpet, playing football. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's kind of crazy. But when you grow up in a house full of boys, that's what we do. But yeah, I played throughout high school. Really loved it. I decided to serve a mission, and so I served in Ghana, Africa. And then when I came back, I wanted to get right back into football. So I went to Snow College. That's where I originally went to play football, but I got malaria on my mission, so it kind of held me back. But I still loved football, and I loved everything about it. And so watching it, coaching it, it's everything I want to do. I have plans to coach in Arizona after this, so after I graduate. So it should be pretty exciting. But something that was cool that you get an opportunity here at BYU-I is playing football through the intramurals. And it's one of the programs that only is offered at Notre Dame, I believe they said, University, and BYU-Idaho, as in they're the only two universities that let intramurals play tackle football, not just flag football. So it's a little interesting. And it's a kind of a gift that we've been given, I would say. I think it was announced when Elder Bednar was here to play tackle football for intramurals. So yeah, it's very interesting. And it's more of they offer it because they want to have team bonding and they want to grow as people and individuals. It's not all about winning and anything like that. And so that's what I really enjoy about it. They teach you camaraderie and working with others and not just on your own. And they're actually very strict about it. So if you're a little bit too of an individual player, they'll kind of get on your case like, hey, like you got your brothers here, you got your family, you should work with them. And so yeah, that's what I really love about the football here.
How does the teams work, or how do the teams work for the intramural here? Is it the same team the whole semester, or do you guys kind of just mix around the team?
It's a good question. So they actually have, it's a cool experience. At the very beginning, they actually have a mini draft. And so, for example, for me, I was at Wendy's having a Frosty, and we had the whole tryouts and everything like that. And then the coaches will call you and they'll draft you onto their team at the beginning of the semester. So I was eating at Wendy's and I get this call and saying, Hayden, you're going to be a part of the Hawks. So there's like 5 teams that are here. And so that's how they put it together. And then, yeah, you're set with that team the whole entire semester. So you kind of grow with them, learn with them, and you go through some trials and injuries and stuff, which I'm sitting here with a broken hand. That's not from football, but that's from rugby. And so intramural here, another intramural sport I play here.
So is it a lot more time commitment to do more than just one sport in the intramural?
Yeah, it is. And so like right now I have a friend who's doing both rugby and flag football, which are two that are going on at the same time. I know it's a big commitment. And so especially if you got a job, you got school, and then you also want to give the same kind of effort and time as everyone else. And so people take intramural pretty seriously because it is a commitment. It's someone taking time out of their day to spend time with other people and give them their best effort. And so that's what I really like about it. It's not like some kind of a joke. It's actually pretty serious, and people are competitive. And so if you are a competitive person, I recommend intramural sports as like a gateway to any kind of feelings you get from competitive spirit. The intramurals here has it for sure.
That's really cool. Honestly, like I've walked past, I don't know about you, Travis, but I've walked past while they're playing before and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I just like stop and I have to watch for a minute because it's so cool and impressive to see what these students are doing. And just you can tell that everybody's working so hard and just having so much fun. And even the crowd, like there's not a huge crowd.
Yeah, not always huge.
Not a huge, but they're a very spirited crowd.
It's true. It's very surprising. Sometimes it's like I'm not expecting it, but they get very into it. It's because it's BYU-Idaho, and so we don't always have the most sports. So when people get the chance to have that high school experience or that college experience, they can get it here. That's a promise. It's just probably not going to be as crazy, but you can still have your little hot dogs and, sit down and watch a game. It's pretty cool.
Cuddle up under a blanket.
Yeah.
Make, I don't know, hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate, yeah. Enjoy it. Enjoy your time here. And I think BYU-I does a great job offering that because maybe some other schools might not. And so I really appreciate it.
And talking about the crowds and watching football, I know, Travis, we wanted to talk a little bit about watching football. So do you go to live games like these intramural games, or what do you do when you're watching football?
Yeah, to take a step back, I actually did intramural softball last semester, spring semester, and because I played high school baseball, that's my sport I played growing up. And
softball's so fun.
Yeah, intramural softball, it was fun, and even though there was a lot of competitiveness, there is still time to have fun, and it's not all about winning. So even if you just want to get out and play a sport, intramurals is like the best way to go. And I've wanted to do intramural basketball, but I'm so busy right now, so I can't do it. But I also have a lot of friends who have done intramural sports here. I have a FHE sister who's doing intramural soccer right now, so sometimes I'll go and watch her games at the stadium or at the fields, and like you guys said, there's just a fun, excited crowd. Even though it's not a big crowd, everyone's very spirited and they have fun. So I made a poster for my FHE sister and we cheered her on and we try to be as loud as possible. So I think that's a big thing about watching sports. Even if you don't play sports, you can always go and watch these events. You can go and support a roommate or a friend or a significant other. And it's just a great opportunity to support those who are close to you. And to go with what we're talking about, I love watching sports. That's one of my biggest hobbies. I love going to stadiums and arenas.
Do you go to a lot of like NFL games and stuff?
I haven't been to an NFL game, but I have been to a lot of college games. I'm a big BYU fan. So I went to the BYU-Wyoming game a few weeks ago, and that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
But I did go to the BYU-Arizona game last year at Allegiant Stadium.
Oh,
and that was a lot of fun.
Allegiant's nice, too. I love that stadium.
Yeah, my family went to the BYU-Notre Dame game a couple weeks ago.
So
that
cool.
would have been a cool experience.
Yeah.
That's way sweet. I would have loved to go to that BYU-Baylor game.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
Like was it double overtime?
Yeah.
Like, that would have been so crazy.
So cool. Speaking of stadiums and cool stadiums, I'm from Indiana. So we have a really cool Lucas Oil Stadium. It's the Colts Stadium.
Yeah.
So cool. I got to go there when, of course, it was preseason, so it wasn't that good, but it was still fun. I got to go when it was the first season that Lucas Oil Stadium was open, and it is the coolest stadium.
It's in a cool spot. I remember because my brother served his mission in Indiana, and so we drove like on the freeway or the highway, whatever it was, and you see it like right up there, Lucas Oil. I was like,
it's
oh my gosh,
whole
it's
thing.
Sweet. It's right in the right in the center.
It's so good. So Indianapolis in general has a lot of cool things for sports. You obviously know Indy 500 if you watch racing and car racing and things like that. Indy 500 is big there. The Lucas Oil Stadium is big there. So it's cool to see live shows like that. So is there like an experience, Travis, that you keep in your mind, like a specific thing that's like super a great memory, like of being at a live football game? What's your favorite football game you've ever been to?
My first BYU game that I went to was against Washington, and that time Washington had a really good football program. I think that was 2011, 2012 or something like that.
Yeah, they're pretty good, yep.
Yeah, that was my first BYU game ever, like inside the stadium, and that was a great experience. And I've been to other sporting events like baseball and hockey, and those are fun too. But I feel like football is a lot more interesting to watch in person than it is on TV because you can see the plays unfold while they're happening.
And react with the audience too, like hearing the oohs and the ahs and everything.
And then you hear the band reacting.
Yeah, exactly. It's all just a whole group
it's a whole
effort,
thing.
I love it.
I don't watch football on TV very much, but I love being there in person. It is such a cool experience just to be there and just have fun with the whole thing, right?
Just jumping in with the student section. Like BYU, I've been in that student section. What's it called? The Rock?
Yeah, the Rock, yeah.
So you go there and you hang out. I did one where we like slept literally outside in line to get into the game the next day, and so I really like BYU Stadium in general. Like, people, whenever they watch BYU games, they're like, it's such a cool setting because you got the mountains in the background, and then it's just sitting up there, and it's like a beautiful little spot. I always, whenever commentators are watching that game, BYU play, they always bring it up like, oh, it's such a beautiful like area. So that's what I appreciate, when the stadiums are like genuinely pretty, and like, I don't know, I just appreciate that. It's like a cool area, and so yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So my favorite pro team is the Raiders.
Oh.
And I really want to go to a Raiders game right now, but they're really expensive. They're like $300 for tickets.
The Allegiant Stadium is brand new, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, going to BYU games is a lot of fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's such a big fan following, and people talk about it all the time about how it's like one of the biggest fan bases in the whole country.
Yep. It's like a Notre Dame, where like it's all around the country because they're members. So the members of the church are always going to be all around the country, and just Notre Dame, the Catholics are all over. And so that's why Allegiant Stadium was so packed that game. Was it 2 weeks ago? Because there's so many fans that come in. So I really
and Notre
like
Dame, you know, me being from Indiana, Notre Dame's
yeah. I've been to Notre Dame too. That's a sweet campus.
So
like,
sweet.
I really
so
love
cool.
It. Yeah.
And I don't know, I've been to a few like, you know, church dances and stuff over there, and it's just really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. It's such a cool campus. So
Oh yeah.
But for good reason.
Yep.
There's a lot of great education there. There's awesome sports. It's
good
a really
people
good,
in general too.
Yeah, really good school, great people. Just a great atmosphere for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a little bit about the bands. At the football games. Travis, did you play any instruments?
I played the trumpet in high school. I was in the concert band. They wanted me to join the marching band, and I did it for like a week, and I was like, this really isn't for me. So I quit after that. But I played the trumpet, and like watching bands perform, especially the drum line, like they bring a lot of excitement, especially for football. Like, they can bring the excitement for basketball, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I would agree 100%, but I'm a little biased. I was the snare drum I was the lead snare in high school and absolutely loved it. I was in pep band, I was in jazz band, I was in concert band, and I was in marching band, and had so much fun with all of it. And I think some of my favorite memories are definitely from the football games and just being there in person and getting to do the halftime show and just being a part of something bigger, you know? And it's interesting because, you know, when you're in high school, you're like, the football players are lame. We're the cool ones, you know, like it was all competitive and like cliquey and stuff. But now I look back and think like, wow, those football players were absolutely amazing. And it's so cool how much work they put in and how much dedication they had. We were a small town, country Indiana high school, but we were like, our football team was almost really number one, like at least when I was going. And, you know, eventually the way that Indiana works is if your team is really good, they would go to Lucas Oil, and they had like the final game at Lucas Oil Stadium. So it was a big deal when the school got to Lucas Oil, and they didn't get there until right after I graduated, but I was able to go see that game. And I think that was in 2016. But it was really cool to see my high school at Lucas Oil playing. So cool. So it's really interesting coming from the marching band perspective, though, because I don't know, going through high school and stuff, I enjoyed really supporting my team, but I was having more fun just learning the music and like just learning to be a part of something bigger, you know? But it's different now. Like now I would love to just be on the sidelines and be a part of like really cheering on my team, you know, and just being a part of that, you know.
The marching band definitely brings an added perspective, and it brings more of the buzz and excitement into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I like watching college football more than NFL, just because...
The NFL doesn't have the bands.
Yeah.
It's true.
And see, it was always like a war about like when we were talking to other people in high school about marching band being a sport itself.
I told you, that was the first thing I was like, man, marching band is a sport. That's a commitment. It's tiring too.
It's hard physical work, especially if you have big instruments. Hayden, you played
the trumpet. The tuba. Yeah, I'd be walking around with the tuba, and that was tough.
And did you have a sousaphone? I'm sure you did.
I went to like the marching band, I think for like half a semester, and that's what they gave me. Because walking around with that big old tuba would have been awful.
Yeah, there's no way you can do it with a regular tuba. But it's a lot of physical work. It's very hard, especially with sousaphones or like drums, for example. I was part of the drum line, and so even a snare drum is like 50 pounds. Like it's a lot, 25 to 50 depending on like the material that you're using for your snare. So it's a lot of hard work. And then you're marching with that 50-pound drum, with that 50-pound sousaphone, or breathing, controlling your breaths, or doing both.
And you're literally moving around with 50 plus other people. And so like you have to be like a lot of the time in sync. Right, the steps have to be in sync. Everything has to be,
timed out properly.
If one person's off, like everyone in the stands is going to see that one person just off step, So
exactly,
it's a lot of precision and good commitment, and to get there. That's why, like when you mentioned that you realized how much you really appreciated the football players, I think sometimes the football players don't go a long way to appreciate the marching band, which I think they go hand in hand. And there are those cliques in high school, especially where like I don't want to talk to them and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think they do appreciate one another, because one without the other doesn't make the experience better, so they have to be working together. And so
absolutely,
I really appreciated everything that the marching band, and it just makes the whole experience better. And like you said, for college and stuff, so I was thinking about the Tennessee-Alabama game that just barely happened. Wild, like so crazy. And so the band was into it, the fans were into it, everyone was like hand in hand. It didn't care. Like there was nothing at the end of the day that you could be politics. Nothing was gonna like differ what anyone was thinking. Everyone just loved where they were at, and football did that, marching band did that, fans did that. And so that's why I really appreciate it. It brings people together of all different kinds of people. So I really love it.
All different kinds.
That was an exciting game.
Loved it, yeah.
That was a shootout, and like 100,000 plus people all wearing orange or white.
Yeah, I didn't see any Alabama. I felt bad for the Alabama. I'm sure there were some Alabama fans out there, but when you look at the stadium, it was like, man, they must have just bought out that thing so quick, which, hey, they won. So they did. The fans and the marching band definitely helped win that game, you can say. Yeah. Honestly, the atmosphere was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love like when the band, like, I don't know, the trombones are like my favorite in the middle of the game, because they're always like the kickoff, and then the trombones,
yep,
and it's
true.
just so great. But and the trumpets do some really fun stuff too. It's just cool. The brass section. I've never played brass, but
they always look like they're having a fun time
when
I look at them. Right? They're
always having a fun time, and the tuba always does something fun.
Right?
I had a tuba player in our pet band. He would always play the Family Guy theme song, and it was so great.
Just randomly, like in the middle, like by himself.
Not in the middle of the games, but definitely by himself, and like in between like band practice and pet band and stuff. Like he would always be playing the Family Guy theme song. But us as drummers, like in the middle of the game, we got to do a lot of fun stuff. They'd be like, getting the ball all started, and we'd just like drum roll, or we'd just get like the crowd stomping their feet and stuff like that. It was always fun. I think some of my favorite shows were just, even if we lost the game, like just all the camaraderie and the friendships and the pictures and the spirit of everything. Just wonderful.
Memories, right? You got memories because of it, and so that's what matters at the end of the day.
And high school for me, it was a little bit longer ago than most people. I graduated in 2013, so it's a while ago, but I have some other cool memories. Hayden and I were talking a little bit about it in between here, but I worked for a radio station, and I did the board operations for basketball games, and that was really cool. A lot of people don't know what board operations are, but basically I was the person back at the radio station pushing the buttons and making sure that the person who was announcing was actually going over the air. Yeah, it's a silent job that a lot of people don't even know exists, but basically the announcer at the football stadium or at the basketball courts, they basically just have a mic. Mm-hmm. And the person at the radio station is doing a lot of the technical work behind the scenes. And so I got to do a lot of that for my last college at Vincennes University. It's a Southern Indiana school. And so it was really cool to do that, especially basketball being so big in Indiana, and just be like a part of that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention that a little bit, because it's a cool job to have, and a lot of people don't know it's there.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, like you said, people don't really think about, but people appreciate the work that they do. And there's also a lot, we were saying how you can like branch out from there, but I mean, even just simple as being a commentator at a high school or something like that for a football game, like there's so many jobs that are going into radio and sports in general that you can just branch out. But we're also saying that you got to be willing to do a lot more. And so there's just a lot of opportunities with radio, especially right now. People think that radio is kind of dying, but it's not. Like radio is all over, and it's coming in different forms, and it's all about your voice. So if you think you got a good voice, like give it a go.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. And that's one thing I love about radio is that there's so many different people that are interested in it. Like you said, there's people who commentate on football or basketball or sports in general. And there's people who come in and we do fun like, morning shows or afternoon shows or things like that. Then there's different genres for those shows.
Yep, there's so many things you can branch out from.
So many things.
Yeah, honestly, listen to a lot of my favorite teams on the radio just because sometimes they'll give a lot more detailed analysis of what's going on because you're not watching it on TV. So I really like that aspect. And you brought up a good point about how there's people that are doing stuff behind the scenes. So I listened to a BYU football game a couple weeks ago, and Greg Wrubell, who's the voice of the BYU Cougars, gave credit to everyone who was on his team, basically. So I thought that was really cool, whether they were in Provo or on the road at the stadium. I like how the people that everyone knows who they are gives credit to everyone else who's on their team. So
I love that.
It's just really cool to be a part of something like that, Teams in general, we're talking about all kinds of different teams, the radio teams, the football teams, the college basketball, all of the marching band, which I would consider a team, it's just really cool to see all of that. Another team that's a little different, a family, and Thanksgiving.
That's right.
We're going to go a little bit into that. So football on Thanksgiving, getting to listen to that on the radio. Have you guys done that where you listen to the football game on the radio while you're like eating Thanksgiving, or how does that work at your guys' house?
Thanksgiving memories that I have is just spending time with family eating, but we also have the games on TV. We haven't necessarily listened to them on the radio, but we usually don't have the TV on when we're eating dinner or mingling, but after we're done eating, and maybe we'll turn on a game or something, because the Cowboys and Lions always play on Thanksgiving. And then there's also like one other game in
Washington usually plays, I think.
Yeah.
Someone. I'm trying to remember. But for sure, Cowboys, and Lions. It's like America's team. They always try to get the most coverage. But it's cool how they keep that a tradition. And my family's kind of the same way. We always got it playing on TV. But I'm sure growing up, like we had it on radio because we would be outside playing cornhole, eating food, and having it on the radio. And so there's memories like that just when I think about Thanksgiving, I think football, food. So 2 F's, I guess, football and food. But that's my family. We just love football. We love food. And so it goes hand in hand right there.
Did you ever do a turkey bowl growing up?
Turkey bowl, yeah. I mean, that's right. That's a huge part of football. I mean, every single year we got to try to meet up. And I've been doing it here in Rexburg since I've been here for Thanksgiving. But back home, we always do the family turkey bowl. And it's kind of funny how that all came to be, like turkey bowl. It's so random. But just grab a bunch of random friends and start throwing the football around. So it's really sweet.
Turkey bowl meaning just playing football on Thanksgiving.
They call it a turkey bowl for some. I mean, I don't know. It just has to do with turkey, and I don't know. But yeah, it's just gathering people on Thanksgiving and playing football and make it a big deal by calling it a turkey bowl.
There's a whole Friends episode about that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And so, you know what we're talking about.
I did, but I didn't know that people called it turkey bowl. That's really cool.
Yep.
I thought it was a small thing from where I grew up, but then when I moved when I came here to Rexburg, I realized that it was a big deal everywhere.
A lot of people do it family-wise, and even like church-wise. We had it in our church. We would do it every Thanksgiving too.
Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, our next episode is actually going to be more detailed about Thanksgiving. It's going to be about Thanksgiving traditions and all the food and maybe specific recipes and things like that. So we'll be releasing that episode next Thursday, just a week from today. So if you want to hear a little bit about traditions and fun things about Thanksgiving, that's where it is. It's going to be right here on The Spot. You've been listening to The Spot, a production of BYU-Idaho Radio. Today's hosts were me, Savannah Bewley.
Hayden Hahn.
I'm Travis Richards.
The views and opinions of this podcast are not that of BYU-Idaho Radio or the university and are solely the opinions of the hosts. This episode was edited by me, Savannah Bewley. Producers were the hosts with supervision by Brandon Isle. Our theme music is Finding Happiness by DJ Quads and The Perpetual Ticking of Time by Artificial Music. To listen to more episodes of The Spot, like and follow us on social media or visit our website, byui.edu/radio. And click podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to BYU-Idaho Radio Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get podcasts. And also, leave a review of the show and leave a comment on what we should talk about next.